breaking into advertising is not easy. It takes skill, passion, and downright luck. Sometimes it can beat you down. We've all had our fair share of rejections and ghostings. I acknowledge the hard work we all have and we all will go through. But now I proudly present to you a breath of fresh air, a beam of shining hope. Zach Wright. He's a USC business alum currently working as a strategist at 72andSunny in LA, where he and his team are just finishing up their Super Bowl ad for Indeed. Now, since you're listening to this way after the Super Bowl, DM me what you honestly thought about the Indeed commercial that aired in the first quarter. Our Instagram account is Entering Ad. Now, in this episode, we talked Super Bowl creativity, the beauty of working at 72andSunny, the MAPE program, stalking LinkedIn accounts, and more in about 30 minutes. Please head to our Instagram at Entering Ad to see Zach's recommended resources and to connect with him. This is a smooth episode loaded with excellent storytelling and advice, and I can't wait for you to listen. And now this is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast, and I am your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. Zach Wright, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Podcast. How are you doing at this exact hour? We're on a Friday right now. How are you feeling?
In this exact hour on this exact Friday, I am doing really, really well. I'm excited for Super Bowl Sunday. Obviously, a moment for our industry, but also really ecstatic to be here.
Yeah, that's a good point. The Super Bowl is coming up. While they're listening, it'll be past the Super Bowl. The commercials will be finalized, which ones their favorite were. And so maybe you can talk about does 72andSunny have a little bit of work going on with
We actually do, and
Good.
I may or may not have worked on the Super Bowl ad, so excited to get into that.
Cool. So, Zach, you, like we said here, you work at 72andSunny in Los Angeles. You are a creature of warmth. We talked about before this because I'm from Chicago, how cold it is. But tell us about like what you're doing at 72andSunny, your role, and like who you are.
Yeah. So I am currently a mid-level brand strategist at 72 LA. Previously, I've worked on Tinder. I've worked on our Smart Water account. I'm currently working on Indeed, the job website. Obviously, everyone works on a ton of new business pitches. So I've been able to touch a lot of different things. Had a lot of great opportunities. Got to do some pretty cool big projects. Like I just said, we were working towards a Super Bowl ad for Indeed, which will be airing this Sunday. So I couldn't say anything more than 72 has treated me well.
Nice. So do you know when the Indeed ad will run in the Super Bowl? What part?
Yeah, I know it's in quarter one. So
Okay.
I know this will be airing, but yeah, quarter one, keep your eyes out. And obviously with any Super Bowl ad, it'll probably be running for a bit after the Super Bowl as well. So you should, and everyone should be able to see kind of the work that we created for them.
Nice. Super excited. And I mean, what's it like working on a Super Bowl commercial? How stressful is it? I mean, were you pretty integral in that process? Give us the rundown with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll kind of start from the beginning. Indeed was a relatively new business one for us at 72. I think, we signed all the paperwork back in November. And with initial pitch work, we pitched some ideas, and then this one that just really stood out, I guess I heard from either like this came directly from the CMO or the CEO. He looked at that piece of work and was like, no, that needs to go on the Super Bowl. Like we need to put that on the biggest stage as possible. I don't know. They just fell in love with a concept that we had. And so, coming out of November, warming up to each other, kind of trying to feel each other out. And then they asked us immediately to do this huge project, totally not expecting that. So it was all guns a-blazing. We had to get this together. We had to make sure the script was perfect. They also wanted to do an activation in tandem with the spot that we are going to launch on Super Bowl. So we had to figure that out. We had to kind of mobilize our social team at 72 to get something that would be kind of, attract a little bit of attention on Twitter. But yeah, I would have to say, November, December, we had luckily a little bit of a break, but then come back on January. We really hit the ground running with Indeed. They've been really, really great, and they wanted to do something big. They're a first-time advertiser for Super Bowl, so they needed to, show up and put those dollars to work.
Interesting. So it started off with that initial pitch, like right back in November, that concept that you guys might have showed them. They said, hold up, we need to do this at the Super Bowl. And then you guys have been working on it ever since.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. They just, I guess, fell in love with it. And
wow,
they
what
wanted
a home run.
They wanted to go big. They wanted to literally air this on the biggest day of advertising possible, which was really exciting for us. I mean, not even just for like the monetary reasons. It's just like getting, good work out there for millions of people to see. I mean, that's everyone's kind of MO in advertising.
Yeah, and I think 72. I know 72andSunny is one of those is one of the like big agencies that everybody should have on their radar right now. It's been awarded heavily. You guys are doing Super Bowl commercials. I mean, it's a large agency in LA. It's like, I mean, everybody probably listening in our little network knows about it. But what I want to get from you is your take on 72andSunny. You've been in a couple agencies, and I need some details on what you do exactly on these client projects. So
yeah,
whatever you want to take that.
Okay, yeah. So like I said, I'm in strategy at 72. So, we're cracking the brief, writing the, insights that are going to guide the creative. Mm-hmm. We're kind of also just kind of, advisors to the creative as the people who are supposed to be totally on top of the direction the creative is supposed to be going in, the kind of, beats we have to hit, the important messaging that Indeed needs to, make an appearance in the spot. So we are almost a little bit of the little box checkers.
Yeah.
Like there's a list of things that needs to be accomplished in this spot, and it's our job to make sure that that's done. And so, yeah, I think it's been great. I think obviously because we went into the pitch, having the spot for the most part already cracked, it's been a lot of the work has been on the other side of it with the social activation. But of course, when they said, let's make this into a Super Bowl ad, we went back to the script and tried to make it as perfect as possible.
Right.
Because we had no idea this was going to be seen by, now tens of millions of people.
Incredible. And are you solely working on this client, or are you juggling a couple different clients right now in your role?
Yeah, definitely not uncommon to juggle a couple different accounts, but given just the magnitude of this project, definitely been heads down and on Indeed, focusing all our efforts, very long days to make sure that, come Sunday, everything's perfect.
And what about 72andSunny? It makes you guys so great, so creative and alluring to aspiring advertisers.
I think with 72, and I know this might sound cliche in our industry, but like creativity is kind of really at the forefront. But in addition to that, I think what I found with 72, it's a really collaborative agency, meaning that when we're writing strategy, for example, it's not uncommon to kind of pull in the creatives and say, hey, this is kind of where we're heading. Is this creatively inspiring? Would you guys like react to this in a positive way if tomorrow we were to present this to you? And then vice versa, when the creatives are in creative development, they come to us and are like, hey, this is still in strategy, right? Or, hey, the clients, you've met with the clients here and there now. Would they like this? Do you think they'd respond good to this? I think it's all about that collaboration, that open communication, and making sure that everyone feels involved at all steps. Like just, when we pass it on, when we write the creative brief, we brief the creatives. That's not the end of our day. That's not like, okay, see you later, pass the baton. No, it's kind of, we're still very much in the weeds with creatives, and of course account and production. So I think the collaboration aspect of 72, the fact that, everyone can unlock the creative idea, everyone can have a good insight. That's what really fosters a really creative environment.
How many people work at 72 and Sunny, and how many people on your team for Indeed?
Boy, LA, obviously not having been back in the agency for a while, I think it's
Yeah.
hovering around 150
Oh,
to,
good.
yeah, I don't know.
Great size.
Yeah, it's definitely it's the largest agency within the 72 network. We have 5
Mhm.
agencies around the world, but yeah,
Yeah.
LA is by far the biggest. And then in terms of the Indeed team, strategy, I can specifically say there's 3 of us, me as a mid-level, and then 2 directors, one a brand director, the other a comms director, and then of course we have our executive strategy directors
Mhm.
who obviously manage all the accounts. So he'll pop in here and there to make sure we're on track. The
Yeah,
total
that's
team
so
is
cool.
hovering around 10 to 12. So, I mean, it's not the biggest team, but I think we're, small but mighty.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really impressive. I recall at a AAF conference in New York pre-pandemic, there was a speaker. There was there were breakout rooms, and 72 and Sunny was one of them. I forgot the other agencies, and they all had different speakers from different departments. And I remember looking at our advisor, Steve Hall, and he looked at me. He's like, "Get in the 72 and Sunny room ASAP." Like, what are you doing? I was looking at the other room, like, oh, I account. And he's like, you need to be looking at the 72 and Sunny room. That agency's a shit.
Yeah, funnily enough, I shared that exact sentiment when I was in college. Like, I knew, I think it's not uncommon. Like, I wanted to go to 72 or I wanted to go to Whiten. Like, I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
really aiming for these.
You made it.
Yeah, I was lucky. I have to say,
Good.
I really, I was lucky. It's hard, especially given now the pandemic. Internships, jobs are far and few between. But yeah, I think that excitement as going into an agency that is just known for the creativity
Hmm.
um, was
Huge.
something that was alluring. Like I had the opportunity to talk to a couple of 72 people beforehand too, before I got into the doors, and just the words they were saying, the testimonials of working at 72,
Hmm.
all positive, all exciting, all just repeating the same things about like creativity, about the way we work here. So I
Yeah.
immediately was like, 72's it.
Well, this is huge because this transitions really nicely into how you broke into the industry. Um, so you graduated from USC, Southern California, which is one of my dream schools. If I didn't go to U of I mean, if I could have gone out of state, I would have picked that number one. Really cool school. Will Ferrell went there. And they have a really good cinema program and cool arts program. Anaheim is the journalism school, I believe.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, Maggie Suska I interviewed. She was alumnus there. But let's break it down. So you from college, to when you first got your real advertising first internship or those big moments in your career, break those down for us. We're listening in the eyes of we want to do what you're doing. You're at 72 and Sunny making Super Bowl ads. Break it down to how you got there,
Okay,
please.
I'll do the best I can. Yep, went to USC here in LA. Actually, I majored in business, so I had no idea that I wanted to go into advertising for at least, the first year, freshman year. I thought I wanted to go into entertainment business because, like you said, USC has a pretty good cinema school. So I was like, oh, perfect. I'll merge business and entertainment. Quickly discovered that was not the route for me. So had to kind of pivot. I had a mentor in college who was actually working at an agency at the time in strategy, and he knew that I was kind of interested in something merging business and creativity. Didn't know exactly what yet, but that was my goal. Yeah, like I said, worked at an agency, came back to me and was like, "Hey Zach, I don't know if you've heard, advertising is an industry. It's really creative. It has the business component. At the very least, look into it." So of
Nice.
course I look into it. I almost it's like that moment you meet like the love of your life. It's like I looked into it. I kind of like learned more about it, and then I was like, holy moly, like where was this the whole time? Like,
Mm.
this is kind of exactly what I wanted to do. I felt really good about it. The next step for me was, okay, let's get an internship. Let's try
Yeah.
it out. Who knows? On paper, it could be great. If I go in there and I hate it, then, at least I tried. So then the goal was internships, 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 try to make it through, as many as I could because, it's good experience, but also you get paid. So as a college student, that's always helpful. Or at least for the most part, you get paid. I know there's still some
Mhm.
internships, which I
That
have opinions
you
about that.
should be getting paid. Don't the
Yeah.
unpaid internships are a
Oh
crime.
my God, don't get me started on that. But yeah, so internship or intern as much as possible. Like I said, lucky to had made a small round through a couple different agencies. Like I said, RPA was a great place to start. They totally took care of me. I was a new baby, really. Like I didn't know
Mhm.
anything, so they were really, really helpful in that regard. Made my way to the MAPE intern or MAPE fellowship,
Mhm.
um, which was great because this was kind of opening doors for people of color who historically haven't had many doors open to them. Luckily, got into New
Phenomenal
York.
program.
Yeah,
Phenomenal
phenomenal
program.
program.
So you
Recommend.
apply for that? I mean, I didn't do that. So, I mean, how does that work? You apply to that through what is that through its own entity or AAF?
So it's actually through 4As.
Four
Um,
A's. Yep.
yeah, 4As. So they, I think the applications come out sometime in fall. I want to say like September. You send your resume, you do a couple essays, you get a couple of letter of recommendations.
Mhm.
You do an interview or two, and then it's kind of it's like football itself. You are kind of recruited. You don't know what agency you're technically applying for. You're just applying to get
Right.
into the
To the
fellowship.
general, yeah.
Right. So then I think in February you get matched with an agency.
So
Literally no
cool.
idea.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, I can't lie, that day where you find out, your heart is pumping the whole day
Yeah.
because that's your summer right there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
luckily got into a place called Zenith Media in New York. I had never experienced media, so I was open to it.
Mhm.
I found out it wasn't for me, but I was happy that I did it. I was happy I got to go to New York. I was happy to meet so many people through the fellowship. So I have nothing but a positive experience in that
Well,
place.
media, I'm sure media strategy, being exposed to that early, I bet you that's helped you tremendously at 72 and Sunny today.
I would argue getting experience in any discipline is it helpful. Just getting
Yeah.
knowledge, what account does, what creatives do, obviously, what production
Mhm.
does, can just like open your eyes and really make you appreciate the people who are also in it with you. Because like I mean, it's easy to get tunnel vision, right? It's easy to say, I'm a strategist, so what matters is strategy. But that's not going to help you. Like I said, I think what makes places great is collaboration, is understanding, is working together. So the more empathy, the more understanding you can have for your colleagues, the better.
Mhm.
So yes, to your point, I was really excited to get experience and exposure to media. It has helped out. Did not, yeah, like I said, wasn't a fit for me,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to have had the opportunity.
Nice.
And you know, it's another thing to put on my resume to get other internships that
Right.
maybe are the fit for me. And that's
What
exactly
year were you on that?
I was that
Going
was
into your junior year, senior year?
it was the summer after my junior year.
Oh, good, good. That's a big one.
Yes, that's a good one because that's gonna really set you up for your,
That's the one.
that's
Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
didn't have I had a small one my junior year. Because We Are Next blew up, and I like my sophomore year summer, it was pretty simple. Like I just applied and I got in at Publicis, and then that next year, like everybody was competition and it flooded the gates. It was good, but
yeah,
I couldn't break in that junior year summer.
yeah, no, it's not easy, really.
Mhm.
Advertising, I would say, is an industry of connections. Like you really
Mhm.
need to know someone to kind of
Yeah.
get your door, especially those top tier agencies where everyone
Yeah.
is applying. Like,
That's what I was applying for too. I was like, "Oh, I want Leo Burnett," like,
yeah,
in Chicago. I was like, "I can't." And realistically, I've spent all my time on one big one. I should have dispersed and strategized better, diversified.
Right. Yeah. I think, a lot of people kind of go, they shoot their shot. You never know. Hey,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
you get an interview. At the very least, you get to make a connection, and maybe
Mhm.
next year you apply again, and that can, turn
Yeah,
into something real, whatever.
yeah.
But
But
yeah,
back
so
to you. Back to you.
no,
Back to you.
um,
So,
did media,
so yep.
uh, didn't wasn't the fit. Okay, let's re-strategize.
Mhm.
I actually met someone through MAPE who her fellowship was at BBH LA. And I was obviously living in LA. I was like, BBH is a great firm.
Huge.
Well, can you connect me? Can you connect me at the very least? Okay, got connected. They had fall internship, which is pretty rare. Literally died. I was like, that's perfect.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was looking for, and secured that luckily. And then that was my real, taste of brand strategy. And it was like love at first sight. I was like, yep, this is what I want to do. This is
For a
what I want.
fall internship?
I know. I was shocked too. They're not common, really, truly. I was very shocked that
You
they.
were going to school, you're juggling school, and how much were you working in this fall internship? How does that?
Geez, I think I was working. I know I was working all day Friday and then half days Wednesdays and Mondays.
Okay.
I have no idea how many hours that is, but
Yeah, it adds up.
yeah, that's it. It was a good experience, regardless. Something to add to my resume, get that exposure, and then also solidify like, yep, strategies for me, which is a big win in my book.
Yeah, no, you figured it out. And then so highlight how you got that connection. Who was that again?
So her name is Katrina. She was another MAPE fellow at the time. And at the end of MAPE, we all kind of come to New York. We do this big ceremony, whatever. You get to meet
Huge, yeah.
all of the other, MAPE fellows from different cities. I had saw that she had worked at BBH. I had saw that BBH was hosting an internship. So you put two and two together. I was like,
Yep.
hey, Katrina, you know,
Nice.
hook me up, please. I didn't know her
Yeah.
either. I just kind of like I said,
Yeah.
shot my shoot. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it worked out, and I'm obviously still very thankful to her for that. But I mean, it kind of just goes back to this idea that it's not surprising. This is not new news, but like networking is invaluable in this industry. You and like this story also goes to show I got this connection through a peer. This wasn't someone who was higher than me, right? Like this was not
Nice.
a senior strategist, a CSO. Like this was another MAPE fellow who was just starting her career as well, and it turned into something. So I think that's something to just keep in mind as people kind of try to get through the doors. That people who are like on your level, level over you, those are just as valuable connections as anyone.
I like that. And I think that is true. And I have evidence to prove it. On this podcast, the higher the highest listened episodes are the people that are 2-3 years out. The older they are, even the more senior titles I have on this show don't really rack in as many listeners, because I think people want to connect. They're in the same, like they were in a similar boat a couple years ago, and I think they can get more directly out of somebody 2 to 3 years, like, or better relationships.
Right. And I mean, the title of your podcast kind of sums it up. Breaking into the industry is probably one of the hardest parts, if not the hardest part. Like
Mhm.
it's really hard to get into that door, but once you get your foot in, then it's a little bit easier. But yeah, getting that first step is kind of the challenge, and that's where I cannot plug We Are Next enough.
Yep.
I know you had Natalie Kim on.
Yep.
If you're really truly trying to get that insight of how do I break in as a young person,
Mhm.
I can't.
That should
direct
be
more.
that should be muscle memory at this
Yeah.
point.
Yep.
If you're a student, and even if you're a freshman listening, I don't know if we have freshmen listening. I didn't take advantage of those resources until like my junior year, when once again, it kind of really blew up my junior year. But I mean, the earlier the better, right? The sooner you
Absolutely.
start all this, maybe you get a small internship in your hometown, like that counts. But so advice now. I want to take these last 8 or so minutes to really hammer in advice. You and I had, more so, you had the luxury of networking in person and going to New York to the MAPE event. And shaking hands. Right now, not the same situation. We're starting to get, when I started this podcast, it was more of a shock to people, but now people are starting to get the Zoom culture. But now, in your take, what can students be doing today in the virtual world to better their chances to break in? What's the advice that you have?
All right. So I am a little embarrassed to say this, but I love LinkedIn. I love
I do too.
LinkedIn. And the reason I love LinkedIn is because not only you get to obviously connect with people, you get to see their journey to where they got, right? And so I can't tell you how many times I have literally stalked countless strategy, people, senior strategists, mid-levels, juniors, to CSOs of huge agencies, because not only do you see their work experience, you see the other things that they've done that has helped them. Like, I found out about MAPE through stalking someone on LinkedIn. I found out about, I've done another thing called LeGrand through stalking someone through LinkedIn. Like, don't just look at their work experience. Scroll down and do, like, I don't know what it's called, like other organizations or like honors or whatever. Like, look at that, because if they did it, more likely than not, that's going to be applicable to you as someone who is young, who's starting out, and through those like extra things, like a MAPE fellowship, like, a scholarship thing, like a networking event. That's where you get the doors, or you like you said, you open the doors and you shake the hands and you are able to make the connections that'll allow you to at least get an interview or something like that.
It's like a benchmark. Like, so you find the people that you want to be like, and it's okay to emulate them, and see what they did in their path. I did that with Armando. Do you know Armando
Yes,
Sanchez? Yeah,
of course I do.
that's my guy. Yep. He's a We Are Next guy too. So, yeah, that's what I did with him. And so stalk the LinkedIn, see what they're doing, and do it.
Right.
Look into those things.
Yeah, and I think, another thing that I have kind of been seeing around, and I think just like by virtue of being in a creative industry, is, if you're applying to these internships, if you are applying for anything really, I always try to stand out. And I know that's cliche, but I think that really, when look, I work on Indeed, and we're doing a lot of research in the job market. And one thing that we've learned is that the people who are hiring are getting inundated with resumes right now, because jobs are so far and few between. Those that are actually hiring are just getting swamped. Likely, your resume may get lost in the mix, and no one wants that. So what I've done, which I sometimes works, sometimes does it, but you put your best foot forward, is like, I have made, onboarding decks for myself based on the account that, I would like to work on, or what the job posted is for, to just show that I have initiative. I've seen people, I think one thing that recently happened was like people Venmo requesting creative director
I saw
$50,000.
that for High Dive, the
Like,
$50,000 junior.
who knows if that's gonna work, but it gets their name etched in their brain. And that's the best you can do, right? Like, you can't control what their hiring process is like, but what you can control, for the most part, is getting your name out there, and that's already going to put you ahead. So I think put in the extra hour to make a deck, make something like,
huge.
Yeah, just
Did you
get
see
your name.
the Spotify resume I saw like went viral? Is somebody was applying to Spotify, and they took like the homepage and transferred it to like a resume. So like all the cue cards on the homepage, and it's so cool. Like in the
Great.
search
I
bar.
mean, look, like, that's so cool. That's so fun. And guess what? Like, we're in the creative industry. Like, that's what our jobs are day in and day out. It's making cool, disruptive is a big word right now.
Huge
Shit.
word.
Like, that is the fun part about our job, is we get to do these crazy things. So kind of show that from the get-go. And I swear, like, it's paid dividends. It's annoying to put in the work in the upfront, but you never know. That might even be enough to get an interview, and that's a huge win by itself.
Nice. And then you just gotta be yourself and rock it.
And then you be yourself and you rock it. That's as best as you can do from there. Like, and hey, if you don't get it with that, maybe that place wasn't a match.
Well, it's their loss.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
You gotta have confidence that you are valuable goods.
That's right, right. And so you've done research on the job market and even people within strategy, right? Do you have off the top of your head like some resources or websites, podcasts, anything? And we'll list these out on the Instagram at entering ad on Instagram. But anything now, like people, I mean, you seem like a really smart guy. Anything that you follow you want to recommend?
Yeah. Oh boy. Is this gonna help you directly? No. But is it good advertising entertainment that makes you more kind of acquainted with the industry, and you can pull in a zinger or two in an interview that makes you kind of or the interview like you a little bit more. Yeah. So I think there's this Dong Draper guy on Twitter who is just
Yep.
hilarious. He has
Yep.
so many good insights about the advertising industry, and the more you can just feel like you're familiar with the industry, the more you're likely to perform in an interview, just kind of even in coffee chats, just establishing that rapport with whoever you're talking
Mhm.
to. I think there was like this one TikTok I
I saw, yeah, you sent me that and I was watching that. I like that one.
it's like make it fun. Don't
What's
make
it called?
It's called something like things about advertising or something.
Hold on, I'm pulling up
Um,
my I
stuff
love
about
TikTok.
advertising, I think it is.
Stuff about advertising.
Yeah, it's just like, don't make learning about advertising homework. Make it fun.
Yes, yes, and the TikTok, I've been on it for hours nowadays, and just scrolling past that, it makes it so much easier, and it helps.
Exactly. Like I'm not a believer in, okay, let's go to this bland website and read all about advertising or
Mhm,
watch Mad Men. I know it's a little outdated and
mhm,
the industry's changed a lot, but you get a good grasp of where, the roots of our industry came from. You
yeah.
know, don't feel like you have to do all
It's not
this
like
research.
homework, yeah.
Yeah. So I
Cool.
think also, you know, if you're going to be a strategist, I would say just keep up with what is going on in the world. That is so important. Like, make sure you're well versed in culture, because that is kind of a part of our job. It's just to make sure we know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like the New York Times has like a dollars like per week subscription for students. Look into those student subscriptions, stay updated on the world, and that will help you. So we'll get your other resources. That was a sneak peek. Go to our Instagram at entering ad to follow Zach and to see those resources. But for now, can people go to your LinkedIn? You said you love LinkedIn. Can they reach out to you and connect? Is that okay?
That is a-okay. I welcome that, in fact.
Cool. Well, Zach, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I have no further questions, but you've been great, super helpful, Super Bowl coming up. We'll talk about that next week. But thanks, Zach.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you all for listening to this entire episode of the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. I hope you enjoyed this week's guest. Make sure you go and connect with them on LinkedIn. Tell them that Breaking and Entering sent you. Now, thank you to Mikey Malarkey, our audio technician, and Buchun Zhang, our creative director, as well as the student team from the Midnight Oil Agency at the University of Illinois. Can't do it without you all. Thank you very much. We will see you all next week with another amazing guest.